it sounds a bit funny, but gardens aren't really that controversial. They don't. People sometimes get irate, and I kind of still say to them, it's just a garden, my man. It's just a garden. The podcasting was an odd one, but it's kind of a very similar story to how I started blogging. And the podcast was a conversation, funnily enough, with Bernie Goldbach, who lectures in multimedia down in, it used to be Tip Institute. I think is it still Tip Institute?
LIT now.
It's LIT now, it is. It's changed. That's moved on. And Bernie wanted a bit of garden advice, and I was one of them where I wanted to say you kind of need to do that, but it also needs to be that. And in horticultural terms, there's so many factors to watch out for. And bear in mind, he's in Clonmel and I'm in Dublin, so I recorded it into a new product at the time called Audio Boo, and sent it on down. A couple of days later, got asked for a little bit of extra garden advice, bit extra. And eventually I had to go, oh, jeepers, here, listen, stop the press. Rammed it all into a Friday 5-minute free account episode, and we named it online. Krishna Day jumped in then, and we called it the Sodcast originally. Don't use that word, it's now the Sodshow. And the Sodcast or the Sodshow got a logo.
Turned into a radio show?
It eventually turned into a radio show. Another mate, Luke, designed us a free logo. We got free audio hosting from Audio Boo. We knew Mark Rock at the time. Brian Greene came on board. We ended up in Dublin City FM. We became Ireland's Best Podcast 2012 and 2013, which is a little odd, but it all started out the back garden a little bit like the blog. So it's a bit mad. It's a bit mad that the best podcast in the country is one about horticulture, and it's also Peter talking a lot or listening for a change, which makes a difference. And yeah, we've no competition, which is it's also a bit strange,
So we're now in 2014, Peter, and you have a weekly radio show on Dublin City FM, is the Sodshow. It also goes out as the Sodshow podcast as well,
yeah.
And you continue to blog regularly on Donegan landscaping. Why? What do you get out of it as a landscape gardener, as a small business owner?
I think it's a bit odd, but what it allows, there's no real reason, and you scratch your head. It's funny, we were only talking about this a couple of days ago, and in 07 and 08, I think I had to write 2 blog posts about why I blog, and I had to write, I wrote a blog post on Twitter so I could, because I just got so off explaining to people what it actually was, and I know it's kind of all exploded. What do I get out of it? In monetary terms, do I have an online shop? No. If I had, would it be a good thing? Yeah, but in horticulture, do they really work well because they're living organisms rather than, a cardboard box or a pallet, or, if so to speak, or a computer part? Probably not as well, if I'm honest with you. The handy bit, I think, is that it allows people picture a complete garden rather than looking at let's say a stone brochure, for example, or a picture of a plant. You're allowed to see an arrangement of a couple of gardens, and you get to know the designer better. That is Peter, or inside my head. You get to see the end results a little bit better. You get to see the before and after, and I think indirectly it may create sales. Have I ever had somebody ring me up and say, I read your blog, I think you're fantastic, here's a big bag of cash and go do fantastic things and make me smile in exchange for that? Possibly not, but does it make life easier? I think it does. And what's funny...
Well, does it... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but what's funny is... I'm having conversations with clients, and I'm saying to them, I remember doing this garden with the red satellite or the pink boat or the Morris Minor, and that's 2007, 2008, 2009, and I'm then telling them I remember doing one in 2011, and it was a collection of this and this, and it's something always a little bit odd in anyway, and they're kind of going, yeah, I remember that one, and I'm going, were you there? Did you? And then I'm kind of going, you've been following the blog all of these years, and I know there are more than 1, 2, 3, 4 case examples of that where they've been following the blog for years and eons, and they're now saying to me, I would like you to do, here's literally money, go make me something that is because I now know you, or I feel like I know you, which is a little bit easier. And the radio does help that as well.
It's different, of course, because you're not selling widgets, you're not stacking things up on a shelf. The traditional, when we think of online commerce, we think about setting up an online shop and selling whatever it is that you've made or produced. What you're offering and what you're selling, Peter, is your reputation, is your skills, is your personal service, and it's different for every customer. And so in that case, it's more about building your personal reputation online, isn't it?
It's very much so. You just hit the nail on the head, if I'm honest, Con. It's down to a lot of trust. It's getting to know the right person. It's knowing that the picture in my head, in exchange for, in short, money. Let's be a little bit blunt about it, but in exchange for money, a picture in my head is going to be made into reality in your garden. And who are you going to choose? The fella who says that for I am the greatest, or a guy who you can kind of, leaf through the magazine and kind of go, I like that, and you're doing it over an elongated period of time. And I think that really does break down a few boundaries, if I'm honest with you. But it's not a hard sell, and there are some gardens that you wouldn't put up online, and then there's also the quirky and interesting stories of what it used to be and now what it has become. And yeah.
What does it boil down to in practice then, Peter? I mean, in terms of your commitment to social media and blogging and the Sodshow, on a weekly basis, what will you decide to post, how often, that kind of thing?
I don't kind of agree with blogging for the sake of blogging, not when it comes to what is my business. I think the Twitter side of things, if I saw a blog hadn't been operating for maybe 4 weeks, I'd probably check onto the Twitter account and kind of go, look, the guy's up to his neck. I've got a rough idea. And his Twitter account says, up to my neck. You've got a rough idea. But at least I know when I'm putting out a garden, it's constant, good, quality sound. Here's the before, here's the after. There's a YouTube little video now to go with it, or sometimes that is the case. So I think I've gone for quality rather than quantity. But there is a regularity to it. I do have one or two in the background. So if I haven't posted something for 32 gazillion eons, I can just press publish and one will appear saying, listen, I'm still alive. But it's a little, I think it's higher quality now. It's a little bit better quality, but so are the gardens as well,